Didn't look like your Wi-Fi was on.
No, my Wi-Fi is off. It's hardline. We're streaming. Okay. Welcome back to Church Soup, the greatest evangelical news show in the history of the internet. I'm Keith Foskey, the Harbor Freight Doug Wilson, king of the amillennialists, and, little known fact, doppelganger for J.D. Vance. Hey guys, how are you all doing tonight? This is our first ever live Church Soup. We're calling it Foskey and Friends. I have two people in the studio with me. My wife, the love of my life, the most beautiful person in the world to me, and to my right, someone who's beautiful in his own right, Uncle Rich, the Reformed Baptist from all of my denominational videos. And not only do I have these beautiful people in the studio, but I have an entire selection of wonderful people coming in from around the United States to talk about this election night. And I'm going to bring them in now. Boy, look at that. It is a crowd of folks here. We have, starting right to my left, or your right, I don't know what we David K. Martin. He is a audiobook narrator, a good friend of the show, been on several times, and one of the funniest memesters in all of the internet. He is a meme lord, and I'm glad to call him my friend. Hi, David. It's good to have you.
Hi, Keith. Thanks.
Yes. Hear that buttery voice? It's awesome. I don't have a voice like that. My voice sounds like I'm whining all the time. Beside him, we have the man, the myth, the legend, the man whose name is always on his screen, Andrew Rappaport. Andrew is the head of Striving for Eternity Ministries, and he looks like he's been around for eternity because of all the white in his beard. Andrew, how you doing, buddy?
Stop your whining.
Yeah. You are always in such a good mood. You came in tonight like somebody kicked your cat, man. We don't know who's won the election yet. You can save your disappointment for later, okay? Next, yes.
Squirrel.
Or squirrel. Did somebody steal your squirrel?
Yeah, somebody killed a squirrel.
Someone shoot your peanut?
Justice for peanut.
Yeah, someone came into the house and they took my squirrel and my raccoon. They took it out back and shot it.
Okay, justice for peanut. Down on the next row, we have Parker. This is Parker from Watch Well Podcast, quickly becoming one of my favorite people in the whole world. Parker is I don't know if you guys saw that, but he clacked the time. What's that thing called again?
It was just a clapper.
The clapper. Yeah. That we were playing with that at Fight Laugh Feast. I got to spend some time with him last week at Fight Laugh Feast. Had a good time. Parker's, along with his cousin Nick, run the Watch Well podcast, which is where they talk about the theology from movies. And he has said publicly that that's the podcast I should have done. That was like,
actually, correction. So I have said publicly that the only person that does our podcast better than us is you, Keith.
I was going to say, who knows more about movies?
That's the correct quote.
Okay. Well, thank you for that wonderful vote of confidence there. Beside him, we have Corey Wing from Civically Minded. He's a Presbyterian, so halfway through this broadcast, he's going to get drunk.
He's also muted.
Is he muted? Did I
He's got to unmute himself. That's the thing, Keith. I forgot. I was supposed to have a fake cigar for you. So we could all be Presbyterian here.
Oh, okay. I want to start a pipe. Corey, are you there? Did I lose you?
He just has to unmute.
Oh, I'll unmute him. Okay.
I know.
Now talk.
Yes.
Yes, you are alive.
So thank you. I can't be as buttery as David already was, but yes, I can drink more than all of you Baptists. So there is that. But no, I'm happy to be here, and I'm in the battleground state of North Carolina.
Oh, awesome. Sorry, I'm answering a quick question here. Spencer Smith is supposed to be jumping on with us here soon. I'm just throwing out. He's asking me when. I'm saying now. Pop in whenever and for however long. Okay,
Greg just asked for the link too, Keith.
Oh, okay. I'll drop it in for him.
I sent it to him.
Oh, you did. You're awesome. See,
Yeah,
this is what it's like
link
doing
online
professional
for
work. Now, right beside Corey, at least from my screen, I am looking at one of the most glorious men in all of Calvinism, one of the friendliest, nicest, sweetest. And I have to tell you about this guy. When I preached at his church a couple months ago, and the day I was getting ready to drive home, my car wouldn't start. Claude Ramsey had one of his elders come change my alternator in the driveway. Did all the work, wouldn't take a dime for it. His wife is wonderful too. Brought breakfast for us. Sat and talked to my kid. I just want to say nobody is nicer than Claude Ramsey. So, Claude, thank you for coming on the show today. And I know you didn't want to get praise for that, but I just wanted to say I'll never forget the kindness that you and your church showed us that day. That was so wonderful. So thank you.
Praise the Lord. Well, that was Kenny Christopher is the elder's name. So he gets credit.
And skillful. I mean, to change an alternator in a driveway. It was awesome.
At an Airbnb.
Yeah, at an Airbnb. At Airbnb. And rounding out the bottom row all by himself, but certainly not alone in the area of my love. He is loved by me so much, and I'm going to say he's my not yet Calvinist friend, Matthew Henson. I think you're the only one in this group that's not yet a Calvinist.
That's quite all right. Some of the precincts we canvassed for Amendment 4, I felt very much the same way, so that's okay. It's used to being outnumbered, but in much better company and much better spirits tonight.
Well,
And
praise
he will
the
be
Lord.
Calvinist in eternity, so he's got that.
I hear that a lot. That's okay. That's all right.
I was going to say you didn't know this, Matthew, but we're not going to talk about the election. We're having an intervention.
I knew it.
I
knew it.
guys.
It was
We're
coming.
talking a different type of election. That's right.
A different
That's
type
right.
of election. Well, let me go get my.
That's good.
It's not in the background, and yes, I know I look like I'm operating from a supply closet. It's just the place I have to work from. But I was gonna go get my Reformed Dogmatics off the shelf and say I'm at least reading. Okay, so I'm working on it.
I am going to do one thing. I'm going to pull just you up. I want you to show everybody your shirt.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
He's wearing a shirt with my face on it. That
Yep.
means he's awesome.
So-
And Richard's face.
Yep.
And
that's right.
Jake, who couldn't be with us tonight, he was invited. Jake Korn, one of the original guys from CWAC, what we used to call Conversations with a Calvinist.
Yep.
And that's my man.
And you will note that this shirt is very worn out because I wear it all the stinking time. So it's a little
I just
faded.
you love to have my face on your chest. Okay, not weird at all.
Nope. We're gonna go a different direction now.
Let's go with Greg Moore from the Dead Men Walking podcast. He was on the Cross Politic, and he decided to jump over here with us. So I just want to say thank you for coming down from the ivory tower and hanging out with the common folks. I'm very thankful that you're willing to
The Harbor Freight election night.
Yes, this is the Harbor Freight.
Hey, Dollar
Cross
General
Politics.
Jeff Durbin had to show up, set you guys straight. What's going on?
That's hilarious.
Yeah, man. You was hobnobbing. We was at Fight Laugh Feast. I'm seeing pictures of you with Doug and you just hanging out with all the people.
Oh, please. I really enjoyed that interview with Dusty and Doug that you did at Fight Laugh Feast. That was great. And
Did you see the picture? Did you see the picture with Doug and me and Dusty was in the middle?
Yeah.
I said that was a Doug sandwich with a Deaver filling.
Okay, that sounds very Harris Waltz like. That's gross.
See, you had to make it weird. That's why we invited you.
Well, I'm just saying, Waltz. He looks like a guy that eats bananas for the shape and not the taste. So I'm coming in hot. But we got Andrew. We got your Calvinist.
Hey, is there
happy
Oops, I hit the mute button. I didn't mean to do that at all. Okay.
Yeah.
He is also Presbyterian. Can I just say that?
You can say that. Sure.
Well, you missed the part where we said Corey was going to be drunk halfway through this broadcast because he's Presbyterian.
True.
Clearly, Greg
Hey,
already
maybe
is.
I've got champagne here on the desk, so maybe I'll join him. Who knows?
No, always in measure with our drink and our smoke, how we think, how we talk. We reflect Christ in everything we do, bring glory to God, except for that last joke I said. Sorry, Lord.
Yeah.
But Claude Ramsey, good to see you too, brother. Haven't talked to you in a while.
Good to see you, man.
Well, guys, I do want to have some. I want to have some fun tonight. We're already having a little bit of fun. I want to. We got comments all over the place. We're going to be trying to respond to comments if we can.
Dollar General Jeff Durbin. That's hilarious.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't hear that? That was the original joke.
That's so funny.
Me and Greg were together at the original Tullahoma conference, the first one. That's where we met, and they took a picture of me dressed as Doug, and he was in his suit. But it was that red velvet suit that you have, and it looked very Durbin-esque. And we said we were the Harbor Freight, Doug Wilson, and Jeff Durbin. That picture went out. And a lot of people thought it was funny, and that began the joke.
That's so funny.
We were going to start a thing called off-brand theology, and we were going to have was it Sam Say was going to be the Harbor Freight Vody.
No, he was going to be the Timu Vody.
Timu Vody, that's what it was.
Or the Wish Vody. I don't know which one.
And was Samuel Say the one that put the bread up on his face and made himself a sandwich during the podcast?
Yes. He said, "Am I a sandwich?" That was when I debated him on whether or not. Okay, real quick, we'll ask everybody to vote on this. Is a hamburger a sandwich? David?
Sure.
Andrew?
Well, it depends on definition of a sandwich.
No, it doesn't. It's a yes or no question. You obfuscating man, you. Say that again.
What is a sandwich? Instead of what is a
Bill Clinton.
Okay, listen here. You take. Oh, okay, Parker.
Sure.
Yes. Corey, is a hamburger a sandwich?
Yes.
Thank you. Claude.
Yes.
I'm going to go with no, just to be opposite all you guys. I've got to be right.
All right. Matthew, is a hamburger a sandwich?
I'm going to have to go back to what someone else said earlier. By what standard are we judging a hamburger as a sandwich?
He stole my line. He stepped on my line. Dang it.
I said you were one of my best friends, and I'm now quickly backing that decision up.
I will say you have two pieces of bread and something tasty in between. It counts as a sandwich. That's what I'm
Hank Smith said that. Hank Smith already. Oh, this is Hank Smith. 2 slices of bread.
There he goes.
Something in between makes a sandwich, which means if you put bread on both sides of Waltz's head, you'd have an idiot sandwich.
Yep.
I would say, according to Earl Sandwich, who invented this sandwich because he didn't have enough room on the table to play poker, yes, it is a sandwich.
Was his name Earl?
100%. Go Google.
Or was he an Earl? Like the Earl? Like
hold on.
Two things can be true at once.
Google now, not Wikipedia. Okay. His usual source is Wikipedia.
No, just at 1 a.m. in the morning in Waffle House, and you're annoying me.
I didn't ask my 2 co-hosts that are with me. Richard, is a hamburger a sandwich?
Yes.
Jennifer, she who is both beautiful and wise.
No, just kidding.
I was going to say, in our house, your decisions have to be my decisions. It's a patriarchy here. You're going to decide the way I tell you.
Sounds like the same time.
Keith, it is nice to see you with your beautiful wife and your bodyguard tonight, though.
Yeah, it is. This is my bodyguard. As I become internet infamous, I'm going to have a guy to take care of me. He is supposed to be coming to Tullahoma with me.
Nice.
That's the plan. I mean, last year, I didn't have anybody ride with me. I'm going to hopefully have Richard ride with me.
So according to Google, yes, a hamburger is technically a sandwich. So
why do I feel a butt coming on?
The definition of a sandwich in Merriam-Webster's dictionary. So there you go.
Big tech tampering in our podcast tonight. I just can't believe it.
I love this.
How long should we
Is
trust
a Big
Google?
Mac a club sandwich? That's James. That's my buddy from church. James, that was a great question. Is a Big Mac a club sandwich? All right. Okay, so how are we doing in the election? Let's actually get to what we're supposed to be talking about tonight, because if not, we're just going to keep going off the rails. So far, Trump has been called in several key states, my own state specifically. I want to ask this question, go around the room. Does anybody think that it's possible that any of the major states that have been called, Florida being one of them, Texas as well, does anyone think any of these are going to be reversed? Last year, we saw this big deal that happened in the middle of the night. There was that, the lines were going up, and then there was that big jump. Does anybody see anything changing in Florida, Texas, or any of these other major battleground states? Matthew shaking his head no. Why don't you tell us what you're thinking, buddy?
Well, Fox News was absolutely infamous for calling Arizona like 7 weeks before the election or whatever last year. Basically, and I saw some jokes about that when Trump like at the Republican National Convention when he won the nomination for the Republican Party. There were some tweets out there that like Fox News has just called Arizona for Joe Biden, like that earlier or whatever. And no, I don't know that we've ever seen a major organization reverse a call. Because what they're doing is they're running basically space math and witchcraft on the remaining vote outstanding. And they're saying, all right, if there's 80% in and 20% remaining, where is the 20 coming from? Which is why a lot of races in Florida were called, even when Amendment 4 was looking like it had right at 59 and change, the Panhandle hadn't reported yet because they're an hour behind. So people were already calling Amendment 4 as a failure because the Panhandle is so conservative. So they're taking into account all that kind of information.
Pensacola.
Sorry?
Pensacola.
Thank you. Every single time it's like, oh no, we might lose by a point, and the Panhandle comes in like Helm's Deep. Like, nope, we're not doing that. Love it.
Yeah. Hey, I want to just real quick. Andrew's got something for me to pull up. What is this? I'm pulling up here, Andrew.
That is the current decision desk right now. New state to call is that there is another Trump is, according to the decision desk, leading by 226 electoral points to 108 for Harris. Montana just went for Trump, so they are still predicting a Trump win.
Still predicting a Trump win. What were the numbers? Because I can't. It's too far away from my eyes, and my eyes are getting really bad, y'all.
You're getting old.
Number for
Trump.
Trump? Say that again.
It's called getting old.
Yeah, been doing that for a little while. But what's the Trump number right now?
226.
226 for Trump, 108 for Harris right now.
And the magic number is 270.
270.
Right?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, but it's all down to 7 states because California's going to get called, Oregon's going to get called, Washington's going to get called. It's just their Pacific time zone, so they haven't even reported any results. North Carolina, some have called it, some haven't, but it's going into tonight. It's Georgia, North Carolina, Arizona, Nevada. Trump wins those, and then he needs Michigan, Wisconsin, or Pennsylvania, one of the three. That is the only real math that matters at this point.
So right now, Trump is probably trending 0.5% in Michigan, in my home state. They look like he's trending 1% in Pennsylvania. So both of those are close, but very winnable for him.
The New York Times.
I will say this right now. He's trending in Pennsylvania, my home state. He is trending in Wisconsin. Now, the interesting thing with Wisconsin is that Wisconsin is a state where RFK sued to get himself removed from the ballot, and they would not let him off the ballot. So if that difference between Kamala and Trump is the difference of RFK, you will know that was might have been a factor.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Andrew. Just to let you know, he's on the ballot in Michigan too, and right now he's at 0.4. So he's at that 0.5% margin to where Trump would actually be predicted to win by a full percent. So it's very slim margins in the swing states, and not pulling Kennedy off the ballot, it might come into contention.
Mm-hmm. You know what's interesting about that? I just want to throw this out. I don't know how it works everywhere else, but when I walked in today, they printed the ballot. Like it wasn't like they printed it and handed it to me. Every ballot is printed.
Where'd you go to vote? At Toys R Us? What are they doing down there in Florida?
Did they do this for you?
Today.
Matthew, did they do it? Matthew, you're in Florida.
Yeah,
some old lady on an Epson printer.
Actually, they're made by brother.
Don't be hating on Epson.
I will have you know that Florida's the third most populous state in the nation, and we knew who won by 9 p.m. So I don't want to hear it. Okay, we got all of our stuff done, signed, sealed, delivered. We knew who our amendments were going to. We knew who our electoral votes were going to. We were done in time for Jeopardy tonight, y'all.
But what I'm saying, the only reason I brought up the printed ballot is they could have taken somebody off at any point because it's digital until it becomes paper, right?
Yes. So
why are they keeping somebody on who says I'm no longer running?
Now,
because the Democratic secretaries, here's Trump's biggest thing to overcome. 5 out of the 7 states that he needs to win, and he doesn't need to win all 7 of them, but the pool of the ones we're talking about. 5 out of the
Democratic
7 have a
Secretary of State.
Democratic governor and a Democratic Secretary of State running the
Yes.
election. And at a 5%, 10% margin, that doesn't matter. Down around a 0.1, 0.2, 0.3%, when we're getting into some hanging chads, oh, you better believe that's going to matter.
So,
Yes, hanging Chad situation.
I will just say, too, the New
Interesting
York Times has an excellent election dashboard up, and they've got this needle, right, that just causes all kinds of people anxiety and stuff. It's currently predicting an 80% chance of a Trump victory right now over the whole election, right? So not any particular state.
So Keith, here's a couple interesting things to note. You see in Wisconsin, Michigan, you had Colonel West, who is a Democrat who is also running for president. They sued to get him off the ballot, while they also sued to keep RFK on the ballot in those states. Now, here's an interesting thing on the decision desk right now is that New Jersey went from Kamala Harris to leaning Kamala Harris. I will say that if Donald Trump wins New Jersey, this election is over.
Okay. I'm hearing some sound. Somebody in comments said that we're getting some feedback. I'm not sure whose microphones are doing. I hope it's not mine. I'm going to mute myself out.
Hey, Parker, what do you think? Is Trump going for Ohio? I think he's leading there, isn't he?
Yeah, I was actually just looking at that. It looks like it's leaning Ohio. I was actually going to ask you, Greg, does he have any chance of winning Michigan? Because I was seeing reports that Trump is winning 18 to 29-year-olds by 5% in Michigan.
So that's his saving grace there. So when at 8:00, when I started on the Cross Politic live stream, we had 8% reporting. She was at 56%. When I jumped over to you guys, she was down to 51% with 16% reporting. So the trend is down. You got to realize that 16%, most of that's Wayne County, which is Detroit, which is heavily Democratic. So I have, I feel good if she's up 5 or 6 points in the first 2 or 3 hours of reporting. That always levels itself back out because Wayne County is one of the first to start reporting with the largest amount of ballots. The whole middle of the state, which is all red, has not even been reported. So I think I saw a New York Times or Wall Street Journal said they're predicting Trump by 0.5 percentage point in Michigan, but it is going to be extremely close.
Wow.
I want to throw something up here. We just got a good comment that came in. This is from Sheldon. No last name given. I'm just going to go Sheldon. Said Trump was also winning until 2 a.m. in 2020. Corey, you haven't said a whole lot tonight, and I want to hear your thoughts. Do you think we're going to see a repeat of last year? And I already kind of asked this question about the battle states, but overall, do you think that there's a surprise coming in the middle of the night after we all go to bed and wake up in the morning with a Kamala presidency?
Yes and no. Do I think that they're going to try to cheat? Do I think there's a surprise coming? Of course. They're crooked and they're evil. So yes, I absolutely think that they're going to try anything they can to cheat. That's why getting
not partisan, by the way. Absolutely. Straight in the middle.
You can tell from what I'm wearing. That's right. They're going to try to cheat, but that's why it was so important to get the vote out and to do the groundwork that we needed to do, especially in swing states like Ohio and Greg's Michigan, my North Carolina. Because it's vital that we get the numbers up high enough to where ballot dump at 2 a.m. is not going to be as powerful as it was back in 2020. But again, North Carolina, where I live, is one of those weird swing states where there's no doubt Josh Stein's already won the governorship, who's a Democrat. Robinson was just too inflammatory. There was too much. It's too much to overcome. But they even where I was just watching just called it for North Carolina as well. So it looks like we're going to go Trump for president and then a Democrat for governor. So I mean there's a lot of weird stuff still to play out tonight. So I don't want to get overly excited. But I think she's even more unlikable than Hillary Clinton. And so I think we're heading more towards a 2016, liberal tears, weeping from Russell Moore, things like that, than we are than what we saw in 2020.
Hey, Keith, Can I just jump in here for 1 second? Because I got to jump back over to the Cross Politic live stream. I just wanted to comment on what he said very quickly. Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead, man. You got the floor.
Oh, no, you don't have to give me the floor. I would just say, too, that this is a different situation than 2020 because actually, for the first time, the GOP and the Republican voters have taken full advantage of the early voting to where exit poll voting has said we're up 7-8% in just about all voting in the early vote. So it's actually backfiring on the Democrats, the extended voting in early voting times. Now, what we have to watch for that, though, is are we just chipping into the normal bump we get on election day? Because on election day, the Republicans, there's always more votes. It has always been that the Democrats lead in the early voting and then the Republicans kind of even it out on day of. But now, for the first time, Republicans are actually leading in the early vote. So we just need to know, did more people that were going to vote on election day from the GOP go, I'll just go vote early? Or did we actually make that swing by, Trump and Vance kind of courting the alternative Republican, meaning the Joe Rogan and the Theo Vaughn and the Tim Dillon show, voters that went, you know what, I can't stand Harris. I can't stand the craziness. I saw these guys on my favorite podcast. I'm going to go vote for them. So that's really what it's going to come down to. And I think it might make the difference, the Gen Z vote in probably 5 of those 7 swing states.
Awesome. That's an encouraging thought. Now, hey, before you go, because you said you got to go back to the ivory tower, and we understand. You've slummed it long enough, but before you go, I want to give you an opportunity because somebody just asked this question in channel. Somebody said, "Hey, what's the Happy Calvinist channel?" So I'm going to give each of you a minute to tell everybody where to find you. I know not everybody here's a podcaster. David's an audiobook narrator, but you can still talk about your website. Everybody go around the room. We'll let Greg go first because he's probably going to drop out after he does his part, and then we're gonna give everybody an opportunity to share.
Real quick, they just called Georgia for Trump.
Oh, they called Georgia for Trump.
Let's go.
Hey, in fact, while we're doing this, some y'all shout it out. If you see something and it's solid, shout it out. Okay, Greg, you're on, man. Give us
all right, very quickly before I take off. My name is Greg Moore. I'm the host of the Dead Man Walking podcast. You can find me at dmwpodcast.com. But if you're trying to pick a new podcast, put me low on the rung. I want you guys listening to Your Calvinist. I want you listening to Watch Well with Parker Brown. I want you listening to Happy Calvinist with Claude Ramsey. And I want you listening to Striving for Eternity with Andrew Rappaport and Civically Minded. You guys have a great group. You're having a lot more fun on this stream than I am, but go do it, guys. Have fun.
Well, God bless you, brother. Thank you for coming in. We love you. And we'll
Love
see
you, Greg.
Greg, see you guys.
Love you, man.
All right, my friend. Now, Matthew, I know you are you're not a podcaster. You're one of my team. You're my team member, but you're also an elder at your church. So do you have anything you want to shout out for your church?
I spent 13 hours on my feet today, guys. I'm surviving off the adrenaline of the fact that we killed Amendment 4. So that's like, I listen, I care about the presidency. I care very much about the Senate. This matters to me, but like, that was the thing for me living here in Florida is we had to kill that one, and we did. And so as I did in pre-show, because I still have some in here, this is a mini bottle of champagne and a toast to be poured to the fact that we have defeated this amendment. Now, something that was said, because I went right to an elders meeting after that, was pray that God would grant us repentance because 57% of our state said this is a good idea, right? So we've got some work to do. All right. They'll be back in 2 years. They're coming again. So I'm happy. I'm elated. We beat the weed amendment too, which is great. But at the same time, I recognize that it's just one small part of a much larger piece. This was the first time our church, just a shout out, I'm an elder at Switzerland Community Church in St. Johns County. It was the first time we had really engaged a political issue, so to speak, because to be quite honest, our whatever ology you want to put on the end of it wasn't all that great in understanding how the state is supposed to respond and all of this kind of stuff. And I know that gets into the CN stuff, and I'm not interested in going there, but we finally got it distilled down to where it was, this is one issue on a ballot. It's not a candidate. We're not having character debates. We're not having policy debates. We need to stand on truth here. And so every single elder from the stage, when they discussed it, said, go and vote no on this abominable thing. Go take it down. And that's exactly what we did. And it was a real turning point for our church, and I appreciated it.
Amen. Well, thank you for sharing about that. And if anybody's in the Switzerland area, not Switzerland, hold on. Is Switzerland a country or
do that.
I know they're neutral.
Okay, yeah, Switzerland, a la south of Jacksonville.
I would like to point just two things out that I've noticed, sort of hot election news. Decision Desk projecting Republicans have a 99% chance of taking the Senate, which is very, very good, because even in a Kamala presidency, that would blunt any Supreme Court stupidity that might happen. Number two is that betting odds, which are very sketchy and should not be relied upon for any kind of prognostications, both have Donald Trump well over 90% likelihood of winning the night. The New York Times is sitting at about 82 right now. So
nice. All right,
Can I
Mr.
just jump in?
Yeah,
quick?
please.
I
You have
think
a
Florida
podcast you want to share?
liberals right now.
I'm just-
I'm part of your team.
You're on my team.
Love
This
your
is my team. This is my beautiful team.
I'm just saying, liberals in Florida now. I mean, they lost the presidential election, Amendment 3 and Amendment 4. So there are a lot of crying liberals.
They lost the
right now.
weed, they lost abortion, and they lost the presidency.
Oh, can I point something out about that? What was fascinating where the vote came from. So everywhere in Florida, Amendment 3, for those who don't know, was the legalized weed for all time, all places, all cases, and it was horribly written and a bunch of other stuff, right? And then Amendment 4 was basically like Molech R Us. That was like that amendment, okay? And so so they were running about sorry, Andrew. It is what it is. So they were running about he's just dying. They were running about even. Everywhere you had Amendment 3 and Amendment 4 results coming in, they were within about a point of each other, except for one place, Miami-Dade County. And I do not know why this is. I'd love to hear sometime. Everywhere else, if it was, they were within a point. In Miami-Dade County, Amendment 4, which would have made all of the abortion available at any case for any reason, ran at 60% yes. But the weed amendment only ran at 40% yes. There was a 20-point split in favor of the abortion amendment and against the weed amendment, and it was only in Miami-Dade County. And I will be chewing on that data for days to figure out why.
Awesome. Well, let's keep going around the room. Claude, tell us about yourself, because somebody asked, "Where's the Happy Calvinist channel?" I want you to tell them how to find you.
All right. I am Claude Ramsey. I am elder at Reformata Baptist Church here in Knoxville, Tennessee. Also a host of the Here I Stand Theology podcast that can be found there on the YouTubes.
So it's Here I Stand Theology podcast.
Yes.
All right, my friend.
And he is part of the was it Truth Love Network along with you, Keith?
Yes, we are part of the Truth and Love Network. Yes, very much, with several other great podcasts. All right, Corey, tell us about Civically Minded.
Yeah, sure. I am host of the Civically Minded podcast. We do practical theology for everyday life. I am a elder at a PCA church here in North Carolina, where Florida, Georgia, South Carolina send all of their women who want abortions up to us. I'm not proud of that, but it is the truth, sadly. And so yeah, that's where I can be found, is at Civically Minded. And be sure to read the spelling at the bottom, because it is not spelled like you think it should be. CivicallyMinded.com.
All right. Thank you, brother. I also want to mention Spencer Smith just sent me a message, said he's having an equipment issue tonight, will not be with us. So those of you who were hoping to see Spencer, I tell you, I'll give you this promise. I'm going to have him on the show soon. So he won't be with us tonight, but he'll be on another time. We'll come in and crack wise another night. So sorry for those who came to see Spencer. And somebody mentioned in the comments a few minutes ago, hey, they were sad that let me see if I can find it here. Somebody said they were sad that Cody Fields isn't here. Well, Cody Fields is a great friend of mine. And I did invite a bunch of people, and I did honestly forget to send him a link, but I just sent him one. So, he might jump on. We'll see. This is a anything goes show. So moving right along to Parker. Parker, I already mentioned Watchwell Podcast, but tell people how to find it.
Well, we're on YouTube. We run the podcast on YouTube, and you can follow me on X at Real Parker Brown, and then my co-host is at Nick Sloan on X. So yeah, follow us on X. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We engage movies biblically. That's essentially what we do. In a fancier way, we apply presuppositional apologetics to film, and we pull the theology out of film, and we review the movie And then like I said, we try to engage it biblically. So we're bringing death to the passive consumption of entertainment. We want to engage actively and watch well.
Awesome. Hey, you sent out your link to your Doug Wilson interview. Is that out yet?
Not yet. Not yet. I posted it. I scheduled it for Thursday. So.
Oh, okay. Okay. I clicked on it, didn't work, and I was wondering what it was.
Yeah. So Brandon actually gave me some advice. He told me to take it down so that it wasn't competing with all the election stuff. It was like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and I forgot that the election was happening because I voted a week ago. So
yeah. That's a good point. Brandon, the man he's mentioning, for those who don't know, Brandon Wood is the producer of Eschatology Matters and a good friend to most everybody in this room. So
Brandon's awesome.
Spent some wonderful time with him at Fight Lefties as well. All right, Andrew Rappaport, you does anybody not know Andrew? Andrew's been around. He was friends with Methuselah. He's been around for a while. But Andrew, tell us where you where people can find you. And I'm just playing. If anybody thinks I'm being mean to Andrew, y'all should hear us at a Buffalo Wild Wings. I mean, honestly,
I got raptured. I didn't pay the bill.
That's right. Yeah, he was the model for that video that I made where the dispensationalist raptured. And to his credit, Andrew always tries to pay the bill. So we love Andrew.
Hey, I'm trying to fit in. I got my reformed beard on. That counts. I'm not dispensational anymore. I got a beard.
By the way, the beard looks great on you. Keith was making fun of it, but it looks good on you.
No, you tell him, Andrew. Did I not tell you that you should keep the beard when we were together?
You did several times. You even offered to call my wife and convince her.
Yeah, because she doesn't want you to keep the beard. What do you think, honey? You think Andrew's better? Well, you met him in person? Okay, it's hard to tell from this small. Yeah. Even if I make him bigger, it's not going to do a whole lot. So.
Don't do that.
Yeah. All right. So tell people how to find you, buddy.
Well, the best place to find anything I'm doing is strivingforeternity.org. As far as the podcasts, the two main podcasts I do is Andrew Rappaport's Rap Report. That's rap with 2 P's. So just search for Rap Report. That is a weekly podcast where we deal with things of, really what we're dealing with is things that are, dealing with interpretations, applications for the Christian life. And then on Thursday nights, I do a live stream, Thursdays, 8 to 10 Eastern time, where we do Apologetics Live, and you can get that at apologeticslive.com. Nice thing about that is you can ask me your most challenging question you have about God and the Bible, and I guarantee that I can answer every question that everyone has about God and the Bible. And if you doubt that, you just come on in, ask me your hardest question, and just remember one thing: I don't know is a perfectly good answer.
Who wrote Hebrews?
I don't know.
All right. I thought you were going to say you were going to give him my email address.
Well, I usually save that for the hate mail, actually. But, but I am a native of. I'm watching this. I will say this. I'm watching this with New Jersey, a native of New Jersey, and it is getting closer and closer between Trump and Harris. And I'm just saying, if Trump can win New Jersey, if he gets the electoral points of Jersey, I think it's going to be toast, because I mean, if the solidly blue state of Jersey goes for Trump, it'll be interesting. But right now it's leaning. I mean, according to the decision desk here, it's leaning PA and Wisconsin right now, and that's all he would need.
Trump is up to an 86% chance of victory on the New York Times needle.
And for the Senate right now, a decision desk is calling for the Senate. There is, and just so people realize, just the way this sometimes works, there were more Democrats that were up this year than Republicans, because they do every 6 years and they alternate. So right now there's 48 Republicans to 37 Democrats. So it is looking like there is going to be a majority of Republicans in the Senate.
Okay. I'm going to let David talk, but just real quick before you do, David, somebody asked a good question. They said, "Hey Keith, do you think true Christians can be Democrats?" I'm going to let a few of you guys answer that question if you have something you want to share. But I do also want to mention somebody else jumped in and said, "Hey, I did a podcast about that with John Root." So if you want to hear me talk more about that question and hear John Root's answer to that question, look it up on the channel. I appreciate the person who threw that out there. That's awesome that you remembered that, and thank you. And John was a great guest. Okay, David. Take it away, buddy.
Hey, I am David K. Martin, and you can find me at davidkmartin.net. Isn't that a coincidence? I live in Pennsylvania, where I am told by a reliable source that the Amish are voting for the first time in many cases. And what I was told was that at least has something possibly to do with federal crackdown on raw milk. But I haven't heard all the details
That
on
is
that.
correct.
But I'm an audiobook narrator. This is what I'm
Worship
right now.
David.
And
awesome.
Keith just interviewed Matthew Everhard about this book. You can see it coming out on Audible, hopefully within the next few weeks, whenever they get around to actually posting it. You can hear samples of my audio recording work at davidkmartin.net. And I'm also on X, I'm on Facebook, and all those sorts of things as David K. Martin. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, brother. And I also asked all of you guys to bring a joke. I don't know if you remember that, but I did say, hey, bring a joke. And so be thinking about what your joke is. We're going to keep going here, and we're going to bring one more guy in, Mr. Cody Fields.
Hey, Cody.
What's up, Cody?
What's up, guys?
Westminster
everybody doing?
Effects and the Doxology. Oh, what is the name of your show? I know it's the Doxology Podcast. What is it?
Yeah. The Westminster Effects Doxology Podcast is the only podcast in the world that is theology based and hosted by a guitar gear builder. So,
Is he another Presbyterian?
oddly
Are you
specific all the way around.
Presbyterian? Cody, are you Presbyterian?
No, I'm actually Baptist.
He's biblical.
It's just that. So I actually have a pedal proving that I'm Baptist called the 1689. Because Westminster Effects sounds a whole lot better than Second London Baptist Effects.
I like that.
So there's my joke. This is all off the cuff for me. So
Well, 1689 is nothing more than a baptized version of the Westminster Confession, right?
right. Stole their homework.
Cody, can you? I'm not sure if your mic is turned low, but can you bring yourself up at all in your sound system, or
I sure hope so. I'm let's see.
are you just coming through your headphones?
Yeah.
You can go into the audio settings, go to settings audio, and if it is set to automatically adjust your mic, you can change that and bring it up there if you need.
All right. So I haven't
Okay.
asked my in studio guests any questions yet.
We're just ornamentation at this point.
Well, you guys are. Look at this. This is beautiful. I want to ask you though. Going back to the question about, and I said people can go look at my podcast, people can hear what I have to say. But if somebody, for those who don't know, Richard's a deacon in his church. Richard's a Bible teacher. Richard's one of my best friends in the world, and somebody I trust. And Richard doesn't normally mince words. Sometimes he can be mean to me. No. I'm just kidding. He loves me, but he's honest. He's an honest man. Richard, if somebody asked you, can a Christian be a Democrat? How would you answer that question?
That's a tough one because it depends on where they fall on certain things. Because I know Democratic folks that, they don't necessarily agree with abortion and all that, but they kind of vote the party line.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, from a biblical perspective, they would agree and line up with a lot of what we would as conservatives, yet they still vote blue. So, I mean, can you just broadly generalize all Democrats and say, well, if you're a Democrat and you vote Democrat because they're the party of death, so to speak, then that means you're not a Christian. I'm not going to broadly say that. But if I also, like my wife was talking about before I came here tonight, she's got well-respected friends of hers who claim to be Christian, claim the name of Christ, yet agree with abortion and say it's okay.
Yeah, it's hard to.
And in that scenario, it's hard for me to believe that they're truly an indwelt believer, because unless they just don't understand that is a human life. I mean, there could be that disconnect because they've never been taught. They haven't got the spiritual maturity yet to understand that is a human life in the womb, and it's the same as taking a life outside of the womb. So, I mean, it would be a case by case basis. I'm not going to broadly generalize it and say that all Democrats are not Christian just because they vote blue. I'm not going to say that. But anyway, that would be my answer to the question on the fly, since you made me go first when you got this crew.
Well, no, to be honest, and I know that this is an easy question to simply give. Well, sure, the answer is no. But I was asked the same question not just 2 weeks ago. I was on Charismatic Cheetah. I don't know if you ever heard of him. Charismatic Cheetah had me on his show, and somebody asked the very same question. In fact, the question was asked differently. It was asked this way. It was asked, would you discipline someone in your church if they voted Democrat? That was the question. And I thought that's an even more difficult question, because now you're actually saying, okay, there's a sin involved that I can name, I can point out, and I can pull an ecclesiastical right of pulling somebody before the church and say this person has sinned. Right? That's difficult. I want to ask Corey, because I know, Corey, you're not a man who minds sharing your opinion either. Well, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean you and I we spent almost 2 whole days together.
Yeah.
And I heard you certainly are very strong in your opinions and very wise in many things. Would you discipline someone in your church if they voted Democrat? And I know you can't do that. You're not the person who disciplines. It's the church that does it. And you're Presbyterian, so you guys obviously have to consider the presbytery as well. But do you think that's a church disciplinary offense?
So the churches do have autonomy to discipline our own cases in-house. So we could, and I have been on cases where we've had to perform discipline. And as anyone in the chat would say, that those are the worst and kind of best days of being in that position, because you love the person enough to do it, but it's hard to do. But again, and I don't mean this is going to be a difficult thing to answer, and it's going to be it's going to feel like I'm giving a weird answer, but I'm in the South, where historically the old terminology of Southern Democrat that's a very real thing in the South. You know, that after FDR, who gave all of these reforms after, of course, the Great Depression, one of which was the Tennessee Valley Authority, and that helped a ton of Southerners who just were devastated by the Depression to kind of dig out of that, whether it was through sharecropping or any other number of things. That converted a ton of even Christian Southerners into long-term Democrats. I actually ran into a guy at the Fight Laugh Feast conference. I met him last year at the Ark Encounter when we were up there. We've been friends ever since. He watches my channel faithfully. And he said, again, I'm voting for Trump, but I am a Democrat. And that's how he framed it. He's in the Nashville area. He's an old Southern Democrat, but he voted for Trump this time. So it's a very challenging thing here in the South when some of those things, especially for, say, an older congregation member who's 60 and above, and they've always voted Democrat, and they don't really understand, because maybe they don't keep up with the trends. They don't understand the modern Democrat Party. And so they don't understand how far removed from what they understand as the Democrat Party has changed. So when you look at the convention that happened in Chicago just a couple of months ago now, and there was an abortion clinic literally sitting just outside the building. At this point, they've so identified themselves with anti-Christian and pro-death that I would certainly sit them down pastorally and say, let's have a talk about where the Democrat Party currently is and why you think that they're a valid option for a Christian. But I don't know that I'd go so far as church discipline unless that conversation went, a certain way.
Sure. And that was very, very pastoral, very thoughtful. And I appreciate both of you men answering, because that's a difficult question.
Well, I'm going to stir a hornet's nest for a second, maybe.
Oh, no.
Is it possible that they could turn it around back on us because Trump and Vance have both been pro-choice to a degree in the sense of rape and incest? We're voting for a candidate who says abortion's okay in certain cases. Could they spin it back on you? And because Trump's an immoral person.
But that's not the only thing. I mean, first off, the argument of him being an immoral person is also 20, 30 years ago. They ignore the immorality of Kamala Harris's husband, who strikes women in public because, someone looks at her, impregnates his nanny, right? There's been no talk about that. So we have to keep in mind when people say that he's immoral. Okay, when? I mean, because the one thing that we see with Trump is he is a family man. You can't say that about Kamala Harris. Well, okay.
And I agree with you. I'm just throwing a question out there.
Sure.
Devil's advocate.
Yeah.
But
I think that, can you be dogmatic on it? No, because you do have people who they would identify as Democrat because they're JFK Democrats. They don't know any better. We have a young lady in our church who I don't think is saved, but she just started coming to church, and she's a Democrat, and she admits that she's got difficulty being, she claims she's a Christian with the abortion position that Democrats take. We brought up a whole bunch of other issues, though. It's not just the abortion issue with the Democrats. They are supporting a very anti-Christian position. I would argue that if they were to win, they would be looking to outlaw Christianity if they could. Only because what you get in power with, you stay in power with. And it's no different than, I know everyone refers back to Hitler, but you can look at it with Mao, you can look at it with others. Everyone gets a scapegoat that they blame. In Hitler's case, it was the Jewish people. When you do that, you can't stop going after those people. Otherwise, guess what happens? All the people come after you. And so what you have is a case where, Kamala Harris and Democrats have been going after Christians. They will only stay in power by continuing to go after Christians. And so, as a Christian, you're voting for a party that stands against everything you hold to. So can you? Yes, you could be ignorant. And I do have a call to make here for the Senate. We do have from the decision desk, the Republicans now, according to the decision desk, are at 49 Republicans to 37 Democrats.
I want you to know I'm not laughing at you, Andrew. I promise. The comments are... I'm watching the comments as they come in, and this guy is he says, "Stop the whole podcast. Keith's jacket sleeves are driving me nuts." And yes, my jacket is short, but I if I take it off, it's okay.
It wasn't short.
Love you. That was.
It wasn't short when you got it.
I keep my hands below the desk. This is the serious nature.
So actually, Hugh has a comment there. If you put that up, which is very interesting. It's the one where he says Trump had an affair with a porn star, Stormy Daniels.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah.
That's a really interesting comment, because the reality is both Stormy Daniels and Trump denied that there was any affair when it was brought up. She signed a non-disclosure, but the reality is that she was offered $300,000 to say she did have an affair. And that's when she suddenly had an affair with him. So the argument that she had an affair is questionable at best, because she denied it for many years and then only admitted to it when she was offered $300,000.
I think she denied it on Real Time with Bill Maher. He asked her straight up, and she denied it on the program. So, yeah, there's video of her denying it.
So someone is saying I'm being ridiculous. All sins are equal for punishment, and Trump has many. Okay, does Harris have many, or is it only Trump?
Okay.
Well, I just real quick, I think about the parable in Matthew chapter 21. It's around verses 28 to 30 or 32. And the parable is Jesus says, a man has two sons, and he says to the one son, go out into the vineyard today and work. And the son says, no. But later he goes out into the vineyard and works, even though he had said no to his father. And then the other son says, sure, Dad, of course, I love you. I'll go. And then he does not go into the vineyard and work. He disobeys. And he says to the Pharisees, which of the two was more obedient? And they, of course, rightly say, well, the one that went. And that is what I view of Trump. So does Trump have rhetoric that drives me absolutely batty? Yes. Yeah, yes. He's uncouth and he's grotesque at times. He's sophomoric and just, he's unbelievable. But when the rubber met the road, did he give us 3 judges that overturned Roe v. Wade? I mean, did he say, no, I'm not going to the field and work? Yep. But did he, when the rubber met the road, go into the field and work? Yes. He was the best actual president of my 46-year life for Christians and for the conservative movement.
And let me just say, you bring up the way he speaks on Twitter, whatnot. He's told us why he does that. I still remember when they asked him, why did you have to call her horseface? And he said, because you would never have report that I won the court case had I not done that. That's his way of making the media report that. By the way, another update, the Senate is now at 50 Republicans, 37 Democrats, so one more seat, and they will have the Senate.
William Wolf said earlier that he believes that we're going to end up at about 54 Senate seats for the Republicans tonight. I tend to agree with William. He is probably one of the best, most informed young Republicans I've ever met.
They are predicting, though, that the House will be go to the Democrats by one person. So that is the prediction, at least. I hope it's wrong.
I want to ask this question very quickly, and then we're going to move on to something more fun because I like to have fun.
No.
Have any of you, because we got a variety of churches, and only just answer just speak up if the answer is yes, because I don't think that anybody's going to answer yes. Have any of you ever been in a church where someone was under the corporate discipline of the church for a political position? Because that was the question asked. Remember, I said that was the question asked to me. Would you put somebody under discipline for voting Democrat? Right? Because it was accused that there was a pastor who said that he would. And somebody said, do you agree with this pastor? I said, well, we went through the conversation, sort of like what you did, Richard. We talked about that. Is there any of you, of the 7, 8, 9 people in this room, that have ever been a part of a church that has or even threatened to put somebody under church discipline because of a political position, specifically voting Democrat?
No.
Okay. I was just curious because, again, that question has come up a lot. And specifically, I didn't think so. So I wanted to see if that had ever happened.
I actually think it's really interesting that you brought that up, Keith, because it kind of hit me this morning, and I posted it on X, and I hadn't seen anybody else post that. But that I specifically asked on X, I made a post and said, calling to pastors, would you place someone under church discipline if you found out that someone voted Democrat?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. All right. I asked you all to bring a joke. I said, you know what? Part of my life and online is to make things funny and to enjoy what we do. And I love humor. So I said I wanted everybody to bring a presidential joke. Now, Cody, you are the last person to come in, and I apologize to you. I should have sent you the link earlier. That was my bad. I'm so glad you're here. If you don't have a joke right away, we forgive you. But everybody else, I asked to bring a joke. So who brought the best? And I'm looking at you, Meme Lord David. I
missed the memo. I'm sorry, I didn't bring a joke.
Oh, you didn't bring a joke? My wife loves your humor.
How about this? Tim Walz.
Oh,
you stole the show.
All right. That was see, you're the kind of guy whose humor just drips off of you. You're
That's why he's
Okay.
a meme lord. I look for every Friday for his memes to drop.
I got one.
We do.
that-
We look forward to David's memes, and I even message you. Can I share this? I'm like, I'm like, I want this.
I mean,
Hey,
most of them I stole from somebody else, so of course. Go ahead.
Didn't you post about a car that was found that was like it was over a parking? Was that you?
Yeah. I posted that.
Did
That
you
that
ever
wasn't
find
that
out what
wasn't a
happened?
joke though. I mean, it just
Okay.
that was just bizarre. It got towed away. I don't. Yeah.
Okay,
That was-
tell me what
Okay.
happened, because I'm dying to know.
Oh no, it was just
Trying to-
here at my local supermarket. I drove in one day and there was this car that was like parked over the little barrier median that they have there for the light stanchion, and it was just
Weird.
the car was up and over it and straddling it and had just been left in. Nobody there.
How did it get
Somebody just
there?
abandoned their car in the parking lot with a looked like the front axle was busted. It was bizarre.
Okay, now I need you to go and find that and do like what Andrew did. Put it on the screen so I can show it to everybody. Do you know how to do that?
I don't. Sorry.
Okay, don't
you
worry
have
about it. No-
Just
no
get
big
it and hit share or present screen or share screen.
All right, we'll go to Claude. Claude, did you bring a joke for us?
Yes. So, in what state was George Washington born?
Is this a joke? Or is it a
You
quiz?
asked for a joke, right?
Yeah, I did. I asked for a joke. What state was George Washington born?
Washington born. Naked,
Naked, just like the rest of us.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
Did he get it?
Yes, he
My
did.
man.
Rich, my brother.
Hey, that reminds me of something funny. I remember one time hearing a conversation about, the Bible talking about naked you came, or somebody. Is there a Bible passage that says naked you came in the world, naked you return, or something? Something.
Job 121. Yeah, naked I've come into the world, and naked I shall return. The Lord giveth, and the Lord taketh away. Blessed be the name of the Lord.
That's
Okay,
right.
I thought so. I thought just couldn't think of what it was right off. And
Corey
and I
has the
remember-
whole Bible memorized.
exactly.
Do not.
He is the smartest man in the room. I don't know. I would wrestle him maybe between a few of you guys, but he's a pretty smart guy. But I just remember hearing people argue about whether or not that means you should be buried naked. And that verse, because it says naked you came in the world, naked you'll return. And they're like,
Because that's the important part.
Well, what would that do to open casket funerals?
That's what I was thinking. It's like that just made the funeral a whole lot more interesting.
All right.
Oh man.
Jennifer, did you bring a joke?
I did not.
You did not bring a joke. You didn't even know about it. I forgot to tell you.
What's the problem with political jokes? They get elected for president.
Oh, okay.
I think
I just looked that up 5 seconds ago on my phone. So.
I think we're on the same page.
I got one that sort of came about organically today, Keith.
Okay.
So me and my buddy Rob were out. That's what I said. We were out from 6:30 this morning until polls closed at 7, doing poll greeting and sign waving. And I had a megaphone, and we were doing all kinds of stuff out there, advocating against Amendment 4. And midway through the day, I had this idea for a joke, and I kind of wanted to see if it would work. And I said, we're both, waving at everybody and all that. And I said, Rob, I think only women are going to vote in favor of this amendment. And he says, nah, man, there's got to be a few men who are going to vote yes. And I said, indeed, women of both genders.
Nice. Nice. See, you're going woke on us.
Many such cases.
All right. Parker, did you bring a joke?
Well, I guess my joke was something along the lines of if any live stream was going to stream until Trump was the election was going to call for Trump, that the stream would break all streaming records because the Democrats won't certify the election.
Which I don't know how funny that actually is.
After
Yeah,
that,
that's too real. That hits. That's like, yeah.
Little too real.
Yeah, too real. Too real. All right, Andrew.
Well, the only thing funny about me is my looks, so I'll go with trivia instead.
Okay.
So, who do you guys think was the first president born in a hospital? First president born in a hospital.
Ronald Reagan.
Wrong.
Okay, I just
Kinda
guessed. I thought it was gonna be ridiculous, and I thought that sounded ridiculous. So
What do you guys think?
JFK.
I was gonna say that.
That's what most people think. It is still wrong.
Teddy Roosevelt.
Wrong.
George Washington.
Wrong.
I
Corey
mean,
Wing.
I think David is the only one that hasn't answered. You're
David
on mute.
muted.
Jimmy Carter.
You are correct, sir. Jimmy Carter was the first president ever born in a hospital. There you go.
Very, very, very cool. And if you've seen him recently, he needs to be in a hospital.
Yeah. So, Keith,
That's
for
me.
some election news here, I know this is going to shock everyone, but they just called California for Kamala Harris. I know that's a shocker.
What?
Colorado was also called for
Outrageous.
Kamala Harris. And Utah was called for Trump, giving him now 246. So he's getting closer and closer.
Who didn't get to do their joke? I know we haven't gotten Cody yet. Oh, Corey. Okay.
I brought a an old Ronald Reagan joke. So Ronald Reagan once said, "Well, politics is supposed to be the second oldest profession. I have come to realize that it bears a very close resemblance to the first."
That's a pretty good Reagan, actually.
That's I was gonna say that was
That's close.
that was a good Reagan
I'll take
and a
it,
good
Corey.
joke. I like
Thank
that.
you.
This past few days, I've learned a lot about the different accents that Corey can do.
He can
Yeah.
speak perfect Spanish, by the way. And that is, let me tell you something. When we go to eat at a Tex-Mex restaurant together, and he just starts talking in Spanish, and I didn't know what anything was.
So you're saying he speaks in tongues?
You said you think he was Pentecostal for a minute.
He just starts talking, and he asked for some kind of rice milk drink, looked like a White Russian. I don't know what it was, but he let us all drink out of it to try it, which I think is really cool. It's like Common Cup Communion.
Keith, you're a Baptist. How do you know what a White Russian is?
All right, so moving on.
No, it was the Spanish accent, or it was the Spanish. It was the Spanish that was in the Scottish accent that got me.
Yeah.
That's what got me.
Yeah. So okay, who didn't get to do their joke? I need a joke. Cody.
Well, the first thing that came to mind was a historical or supposedly historical story about Calvin Coolidge, our 30th president, who was president about 100 years ago and was literally the exact opposite of Donald Trump. Like, he was known for not speaking a whole lot in public settings. And there was one time while he was president, he was at a dinner party, and a woman said, "I bet I can get you to say 3 words in conversation to me." And he said, "You lose," and walked away. And that was it. He didn't say anything else the rest of the night, just to spite her. Whereas if somebody said that to Trump, we would still be hearing about it on Twitter.
He would say, "You lose a lot. Like, you're the greatest loser ever. You're going to lose really bad. It's going to take nobody's going to lose like you." I can let Corey be the only one who does an impression. Okay, Jennifer's got a joke, y'all.
It's not a joke. Okay, more trivia. Which president was known for a large amount of cheese?
I know the answer, but that's a terrible way to ask that
How do you
question.
ask it? What would you say?
No, that's fine. It's fine. You guys have any idea what she's talking about?
I'm going to explain it.
Oh, David knows. David knows what you're talking about.
Who is it?
Give it to us, David.
Oh, I forget the president now. No, I just remember it from the West Wing. I remember the whole discussion, the whole monologue on the subject, but I forget which president it was.
Anybody have any idea what she's talking about? Anybody know what she's other than David?
No.
All I can think of now is Martin Sheen, since he mentioned that.
Okay. On February 22nd, 1837, President Jackson had a 1,400-pound block of cheese, like his bust. I think that's what it said, delivered to the White House for an open house with thousands of citizens, and they discussed the issues of the day while carving off pieces of cheese for the people. I mean, I was trying to picture that. If Trump
We've
offered
we've
that
actually
today,
talked about this a lot today.
Okay,
So see what the
Matthew
weight-
Easton. Matthew Easton has a pretty funny joke here. He asked the question, "What do you call a black man that flies a plane?" A pilot, you racist.
We've got to Andrew can stop. Andrew has to stop listening, going into the comments. Take Andrew's ability to go into the comments away. All right. So was that everybody? Did everybody get their joke? Matthew, did you do a joke? You did. Or did you? Okay. Did anybody not get to do their joke? All right. I didn't bring a joke. I told everybody else to bring a joke. I have a story to tell you. And this kind of goes along with Jennifer.
Wait,
and
you
what?
set the rules and then you break them?
Well, it's
Okay, Kamala Harris.
Hey, can anybody else figure out how to call somebody with their phone camera?
How to what?
Huh?
That was random.
What are we doing?
You guys didn't see that video of Kamala where she was pretending to call
Oh,
somebody
yeah.
and then she showed
Oh,
the
that
thing,
is funny.
and it was their camera. I've been trying to figure that out and I can't figure out how to do it.
Oh man, this guy totally got my story. M. Geck is just left a comment, and he said, "Did you know Andrew Jackson went into a duel, got shot in the chest, carried the bullet in his chest for the rest of his life?" That's part of that was it, because Andrew Jackson's life, even though it's not a joke, it's one of the greatest. Like people talk about Trump and say, "Oh, Trump is he's so out of so crazy, and his behavior is so erratic." Andrew Jackson was in over 100 duels, like real duels, not like arm wrestling matches. He shot at other human beings on purpose over 100 times. And in one of the duels, he said, "I'm going to give you the first volley." What kind of a nut says, "I'm going to let you shoot first"? The guy shot him. He survived and shot and killed the dude. And that bullet stayed in him the rest of his life.
He must have known that other guy wasn't a very good shot.
Dude, Andrew Jackson was a beast. Somebody tried to assassinate him.
Yep.
Pulled out the gun, pulled the trigger. It didn't fire. So Andrew Jackson, who was also called Old Hickory because he carried a hickory stick, beat the man so badly with the stick that his security had to pull him off of the dude. Later, they tried the pistol. The gun shot fine. The gun was scared of Andrew Jackson.
Yes, absolutely. I
So
remember
Andrew
that story.
Jackson.
And
Saying he's the original Chuck Norris.
Oh,
Yeah.
you stole it.
Yes, that's it. Chuck Norris jokes are now going to become Andrew
Cody,
Jackson.
you were too slow on the draw, brother.
I was.
Or
and
like
like,
another reference, Kaz Walker is a local favorite around here in Tennessee. He actually back on public news channels like in the 70s aired a commercial that basically invited folks to come to his grocery store. And he told them, and I'll use the word here. I know we're not using Christian cuss words, but it's funny. So he basically on public TV, which would never happen today, told the thieves and robbers that had been coming to his store. He said, "You come on down here." He said, "We'll whoop hell out of you and swear." Look that up on YouTube. Kaz Walker whooped the hell out of somebody.
I will tell another Andrew Jackson awesome story. He actually,
First of all, what was that thing in your
national-
hand that just went by, Corey? You just picked up a giant book.
I will show you. Andrew Jackson paid off the national debt completely in 1835 as well. So all national debt under Andrew Jackson was completely eradicated. So I mean, Andrew Jackson was just an amazing man in all ways. So this is one of 3 bound editions of Harper's Weekly that I have. So for anyone watching that doesn't know, before the yes, I'm sure they've picked up on that already. So before there were national newspapers of like the kinds that we have now, there was Harper's, which is still Harper's Bazaar. Is the same company, but back in the day it was Harper's Weekly, and every week they would put out a newspaper, and then at the end of the year they would do a bound edition of 52 newspapers in bound editions. So this is let's see, this is from 1865, This is the year that the Civil War ended. So
You are
inside
starting
this,
to scare me, just for the record.
you're welcome. You're welcome. So this is actually from 1865. It actually has a what's called a woodcut of the funeral procession of our 16th president, of course, Abraham Lincoln. And so a woodcut is, before there was photography, they would actually get artists to carve into the wooden or the pulp of the paper. And so in here is a woodcut of the funeral procession of the president. And I have one from 61, which is the first year of the Civil War, and 63. And in 63, there is a copy of the Emancipation Proclamation. So I'm kind of into this stuff, needless to say.
You think?
I thought you were going to pull out Andrew Jackson's Bible there for a second.
Yeah.
I wish. I
like
do,
this.
however, have a Geneva Bible
I
from the
was
15th.
really wanting, Keith, I'm so glad you put that on the screen. I was hoping you were going
Is
to bring
this
that up.
civically minded person where you get your Presbyterian meme character? It is now. If I ever
It is.
want to know what a Presbyterian would say, I'm just going to send Corey a message. All right. One other quick. Thank you for sharing that. Did you? I don't want to cut you off. Did you have something?
No, my nerd fest is over.
Okay. Another
no one
president.
believes that.
Just another presidential fact. I brought several presidential facts here. Teddy Roosevelt, according to this source that I was looking at, was shot during a speech. It was a 90-minute speech, and he was shot. And he said, I quote, "It takes more than that to kill a bull moose," and he kept going and finished his speech.
Man,
That's a man right there. Teddy Roosevelt got shot, kept going, and I thought that was pretty awesome.
And that's actually why a lot of people were referring to Trump as being like Teddy Roosevelt, that he got up from the speech after being shot and, raising his fist in the air saying, "Fight, fight, fight." That was the reference, why they were saying he's like Teddy Roosevelt.
Oh,
Keith,
wow.
one other note on Andrew Jackson. At the end of his political life, one of his most famous quotes was, you talked about him dueling people and beating an assailant so much that the guards had to pull Jackson off of the assailant. One of his most famous quotes was, "I only have two regrets in life. I did not shoot Henry Clay and I didn't hang John C. Calhoun."
I didn't kill enough people.
Commentary. That's right. In a life rich with murdering people for little to no reason, Jackson's only regret was that he didn't kill quite enough people, such as Calhoun, who, it should be noted, was his own vice president.
I mean, who among us hasn't felt that way? Let's be honest.
Well, I think Joe Biden felt that way, but
Dude, this tweet right here. I'm sorry, I just got to throw this one in here. Kamala can still win if Mike Pence has the courage.
Mike Pence just needs to do the right thing.
That's right. That's right. Guys, I want to ask this question because I haven't even looked. Where are we at on the numbers for the for this thing? We're supposed to be doing
right now for president, we're at Kamala Harris is at 169, according to Decision Desk HQ, and Trump is at 246. It has stayed that way for a bit. Waiting for, there's going to be more polls closing at top of the hour. For the Senate race, it is still 50 Republicans to 39. Democrats have lost 2 seats that the Republicans picked up, which does look good. They only need to pick up 1 more to be able to have control of the Senate. And in the House right now, you need a 218 for majority, and Democrats have 149 to Republicans 171. And again, 2 seats lost and 2 seats gained by the Republicans.
Harris just went up to
California
177.
Yep. California
again?
is notoriously slow for House districts, especially. I think it was Kim Steele or something like that, or maybe it was Valadeo in California. Literally, we did not know until December whether or not they had won. It took that long. Now, the presidency and the Senate races were never in question. It's California. But California has a lot of Republicans. And so there are a number of Republican districts, and we did not know that until the Earth had almost transited the sun again, because California does not know how to add or subtract or anything.
Look, man, math is just chock full of white supremacy. You got to give them a break.
I did not take that into account. Thank you very much for reminding me.
Good.
Matthew Easton threw this out there. He said, "Don't go to sleep. Everything will change." I'm really nervous that he's right.
I hear that, but the thing is, something that never happened, I think, in 2020 was you never had your sort of blue chip mainstream media, New York Times, NBC, everyone with their predictions all over into the Trump camp. They never did that. They were always, 60-40, somewhere in the middle. Oh, could go either way. The New York Times needle is at 89% Trump right now. It would be a shocking turn of events for that to turn around. Again, 2020 chicanery was what it was. I'm not going to say it can't happen, but
a lot of people, so let's do the evaluation of that. There's a lot of people in the past 3 weeks that have been saying that where typically the polls will go for the Democrats, there was a lot of discussion on the fact that the polls might have actually been going the other way and favoring Trump, because they don't want to have the effect of what they had last time. So there was a lot of discussion that the polls were actually favoring Trump and going into this. So there is that. I think that, we have to take into account the fact that, there is going to be a lot of stuff that won't be able to be done that was done in 2020. Right. You now have a case where when you have Republicans that are poll watchers, they're not going to be told, oh, there's a flood. You all have to leave, but the Democrats can stay back. I don't think anyone's going to be leaving anymore. So it's also going to be a little bit harder to, with the absentee ballots, as I think someone here mentioned, the fact that the overwhelming number of ballots early voting were Republican, or now that doesn't mean they voted for Trump. It just means that they were registered Republicans who voted early. So that actually might say that you could end up having the reverse overnight. Not saying that they won't suddenly find some ballots in someone's, I think who is the comedian that won the Senate?
Oh,
Franken.
I forget his name.
Al Franken.
Al Franken, who, I don't know if you guys remember that, but the way he won was that someone discovered ballots in the trunk of his car, and Al Franken won by 1 vote, and a judge wouldn't hear the case.
That election was legitimately stolen, like actually unequivocally stolen. Yeah, I remember that.
Serious question time, guys. If Kamala loses, will we be unburdened by what has been?
No, we will be burdened with nonstop riots like we have yet to see. If Black Lives Matter did $2 billion of insurable damage, I predict that if Trump wins, and they will be arguing that that it shouldn't be certified. They'll argue for everything they said was was an insurrection in 2020. They will be doing, and we will see, I think, riots like we haven't seen before. And so I should mention that 2 of us are wearing some wonderful hats here. Make the black and the red, make America Christian again. So just saying. And Keith, I want to also give a shout out. You asked the question earlier about can Christians vote for Democrats? I want to encourage folks, if they want an answer to that, they could go to lets.church, LETS.church, and you can ask the question right there. You will find where Keith has spoken about that. You'll see where I have spoken about that, and many other podcasts that are in that. It's a great app that both Keith and I use. I don't know if any of the others here are using it. I encourage you to do it. Yeah, pull those sleeves down, Keith. He was busted on me all week. I have to get back a little. But Let's Not Church is a great search tool that a lot of us are using to be able to find transcribed messages from our podcast. So.
And Ken, the guy who's behind it, does a really great job, and he's working hard to make that a premier place where all of our stuff will be housed and not ever taken down. That's the thing, because I worry sometimes how easily I could be deplatformed from YouTube, or I've been threatened already on TikTok, because everybody knows I have a TikTok channel. Jennifer knows this. I've had several times where they have told me, if this is strike one, this is strike two, this is strike 2.5 of things that I've done. And none of it's been outrageous. It's just stuff that seems to be fine everywhere else, but TikTok seems to be a little bit more sensitive about it. And so I have to be a little bit more careful. And I just imagine eventually I'll probably lose at least one or two of the platforms just because of the things that I'm willing to say. And so I'm glad that Let's Stop Church is out there providing a backup for all of these things. And so Ken's doing a great job for sure.
So you're saying the Chinese don't like you? Maybe you should start eating more Chinese food or something.
Or he could just be Eric Swalwell, and well, we won't finish that joke. But those who know.
I had to take a video on TikTok down 2 or 3 days ago. It was a video of a voting machine, and the person was, I'm sure you guys saw it in Kentucky, where the person was clicking on Donald Trump, and the voting machine wasn't allowing the person to select Donald Trump. And then at the very end, he clicked on Donald Trump one final time, and Kamala got selected.
Yeah, I saw that.
And then they made me take it down.
So with that, Keith, let me share a different thing for folks. What we had in Pennsylvania, while you and I were at the Fight Laugh Feast conference, this actually showed up on the. If I'm sharing it, see, yeah. So if you put this up,
okay.
This was actually on the. This was the second time Pennsylvania did this, but this was days before the election. Channel 16 declared that Kamala Harris won Pennsylvania by 5%.
Whoops.
Yeah. And now I want you to notice this is during a NASCAR. The first time it was during a reporting of some news. So this is.
Wait a minute. That is Formula One car, my friend.
Yep.
Oh, well, okay.
Just to be clear, if you've seen the Ballad of Ricky Bobby, you will know the difference between Formula One and NASCAR. So just continue.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing being is, I think that's when you'd have more Republicans, watching. So, by the way, Chance from 1689 Cigars just sent me a text. He said, "If Trump wins, I am smoking a cigar tonight. I wore that hat when I voted today." So he wore the Make America Christian Again hat while he went to vote. So 1689 Cigars, they were there at the conference this week, providing some cigars to folks. So if you smoke cigars or Presbyterian, go to 1689cigars.com.
Hey, I love how you just conflated being Presbyterian with smoking cigars.
Wait, since we're talking about all kinds of.
Notice no Presbyterian disagreed with me.
Hey, and Chance is a great guy. 1689 Cigars is great. And since we're talking about stuff like that, don't want to forget, I'm sponsored by Tiny Bibles. So I'm going to throw that out there. Go buy yourself a Tiny Bible and use Keith as your coupon code, and you'll get a percentage off. And the guys over there, Martin specifically, the guy who sponsored the show, is a wonderful man. And he sells the smallest printed Bible on the market. It's cool.
And many of us who listened to your podcast came up to you and said, "Hey, can we see this tiny Bible you said you would bring?"
And I want you to know, Andrew, I wasn't going to mention that I forgot to pack the tiny Bible. The one thing that I could have packed very easily, I forgot. But thank you for letting everyone know that, everyone in the world who's now listening to this, that I did forget. So, all right, I'm going to see you in a couple months, and I'm going to noogie you good. I don't know if you've ever had a noogie. I imagine in your middle school years it probably happened. I mean, did you ever get a wedgie?
It's going to be the battle of jiu-jitsu versus karate. The
No,
one
it's going to be a
advantage
battle of 3 times your size.
and
You
my
can bring
fast
all
leg.
you want.
I think I can outrun you.
Yeah, now that I think. Hey guys, we are at 1.5 hours. I didn't say how long this was going to go. I do think we could keep going, and I'm cool to hang out for a little bit. I know my wife's getting tired. Here's what I want to do. I'm gonna play something that I think is important. This is a gospel message that I put out on my videos. If any of you guys want to check out at this point, you are welcome to. If you don't want to check out at this point, we'll stay on for another 15, 20 minutes, see how things go, and just have like an after show for the next 15 or 20 minutes. But if you do decide to leave and you want to leave, I want to thank everyone for being here right now, just in case anybody drops out. Jennifer, I think you're probably going to drop out at this point. Right?
Thank you, Keith, for hosting.
Yes.
Hey, I'm glad. Thank you all for coming. You guys are my friends. I'm very thankful for every one of you. David, Andrew, Parker, Corey, Claude, Matthew, Cody, you guys are awesome. Cody, I want to say this, man. I've only been around you twice, the 2 times at Fight Laugh Feast, but I feel like you're a real friend, man. I really enjoy being around you, and thanks for jumping on tonight. Are you there? Did I lose you?
I think
It looks like he's frozen.
Cody's frozen. He didn't hear me tell him
Man, a wonderful
best
compliment
undying
that he
love.
didn't hear.
Doesn't even
It
count now.
was recorded.
Yeah, he'll hear.
That's
it.
Because I'm
right,
saving
that's
that
right,
part
that's right.
where he called me a friend, so I'm saving that for.
Yeah, I love all you guys. So I'm gonna play this. If anybody wants to drop out, you can. And God bless you. And hopefully tomorrow we'll all be celebrating. Hey guys, I just want to quickly say thank you for watching this episode. And if you're enjoying it, please hit the thumbs up button. If you're not enjoying it, hit the thumbs down button twice. Also, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out. And some of you've asked about how to support the channel. If you'd like to support us, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/yourcalvinist and leave a donation. Most importantly, we want to make sure that everybody who hears this podcast hears the gospel. The word gospel means good news, and that good news has to be preceded by some bad news. And the bad news is this, that we are all sinners. Sin is breaking God's law, so we stand guilty before the Lord of the universe. But the good news is God sent his son into the world to pay the penalty for everyone who would believe in him. Jesus came into the world, lived a perfect life, and he died a substitutionary death for everyone who will believe. And he calls us all to repent of our sin, to turn from our unbelief, and trust in him as Lord and Savior. And if you've never done that, I encourage you to do so today. Now back to the show. Awesome. Well, we dropped a couple guys, but
I just got real quick,
Cody's
Keith. I just got word that Bernie Moreno won the seat in Ohio.
awesome. And I mean, let me back up. Is that good or bad?
That's a good thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Right? That's a good thing.
I said awesome. Like you sold me on it. Whether or not it
assumed
was,
that if I was saying it, it would have been a good thing.
yeah, I was like awesome, and then I was like, wait a minute, maybe
That's
not
a
awesome.
that's a flip. That's important because that was
Yeah.
Sherrod Brown from Ohio is a Democrat and will no longer be the senator from Ohio.
Yeah,
so
that's
that's a pickup for the Republicans.
Welcome back,
something-
Matthew.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Something I had a sleepy wife that was like, "Can you come say goodnight? Because I don't care. It's just you men do politics stuff." I was like, "Yes, ma'am." So
Good.
we were
man.
apart all day today, so I appreciate the ability to do that. Something that just occurred to me that was pretty funny. If, and we are not counting our chickens before they're hatched, if Donald Trump wins the presidential election, the vote has to be certified by Congress.
Mm-hmm.
And the person who presides over that is the president of the Senate, who would be
Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris.
Which will be quite interesting because she was not in the Senate when she was certified to be vice president.
Yeah, she resigned as a senator before that happened. Yeah, I remember that.
No. She wasn't in. So she was. We can get into questions on why, but she was at the time that they were doing that. She was in the DNC. She left the Senate and went to the DNC.
I'm sorry. When are we talking about?
On January 6th, she left. She's going to make history. She is going to be the first Black woman vice president. You'd think she would want to be there in the Senate to hear that being certified, but she left the Senate to go to the DNC. Very
Okay.
strange behavior. Could it be that there was a fake bomb outside of the DNC at the time that she was inside the DNC?
Yeah, I hadn't considered that. I was just thinking like you have to preside and conduct a meeting in which you declare yourself a loser. Which is kind of funny because DeSantis's press secretary said it's pretty funny how the Florida Democrats changed their logo or whatever to a Florida Panther because they're an endangered species.
That's pretty good.
I'll
Say
take
that
it.
again.
The Florida Democrats' new logo has like the floor like a artistic whatever silhouette of a Florida Panther. And DeSantis's press secretary is like, that's awfully appropriate considering the Florida Democrats are an endangered species.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Thank you. Thank you, Keith, for letting me be on with you all. Thank you, men. It was good to meet some of you all.
Good to meet you.
You too, sir.
Bye-bye.
God bless you, Claude. I love you, brother. Let's do something soon, huh?
Yes, sir.
Am I going to see you in Tullahoma? Are you going to be there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, I'll see if I don't, and I'm sure I'll talk to you between now and then. But
Yeah.
I love you, brother. I look forward to that.
And Keith is referring to the Open Air Theology Conference called the War Conference in Oklahoma there that is put on by Jeffrey Rice. You can check out, just search for Open Air Theology Conference. You'll find it. This year will be on sanctification.
And Andrew, I may need to get some advice because he's got me in that first slot this year. So I need to know how to approach that.
It's good to get it over with early so you can relax the rest of the time.
It's good for me. Love you all. Bye-bye.
Love you,
See
brother.
ya. And real quick, Keith, Harris just jumped up to 189 to Trump's 246.
Yeah,
What states matter at this point? All states matter, but what states
it's
are
I'll
liable
let
to
the
give them
guys
the-
that know more about it than I do
Pennsylvania still
talk,
isn't
but
called.
I mean, the big ones that
seems-
matter are going to be Pennsylvania,
Pennsylvania.
Michigan, Wisconsin, and Arizona.
That's it. It's Georgia, Arizona, and then if Trump wins Georgia, Arizona, Nevada,
I have
then
Georgia
he's down
called
by
for
one
Trump.
Yeah,
electoral
and
vote.
Georgia, I'm already seeing Georgia being called for Trump. It's Pennsylvania would almost wrap it up at this point.
I think if Trump
Pennsylvania
wins,
would. If he wins Pennsylvania,
right.
it's a done deal.
Yeah.
There's
Right.
Kamala has no path to that other than winning. No, Nevada and Arizona doesn't do it for her. She has to have Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. And I don't think it's going to happen. I'm just saying it's pretty interesting.
It's highly unlikely. William Wolf asked earlier today on X, where everyone thought people would land, and I said I thought Trump. First thing this morning, I said I thought Trump's going to hit 300. I think that's still possible, and I mean if he hits 300, I mean this is, as far as elections go, this is an absolute blowout.
Ooh, Wisconsin, Dane County, which is where Madison is. It's the biggest vote sink for the Democrats, is completely reported in. They have run out of ammo in Michigan. I'm sorry, in Wisconsin. So that one's ticking over towards Trump. And again, he only needs one Rust Belt state. If he wins everything in the Sun Belt, which is probably going to happen, he needs one Rust Belt state.
So define the terms for folks who don't know Rust Belt. And
so the Rust Belt refers to, in this context, it refers to Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. So called because that was the former industrial heartland of America that has most of those factories have been rusted and that's been jobs have been shipped overseas or replaced by other, stuff like that or things like that. And Trump has a unique appeal in the Rust Belt that no other Republican presidential candidate ever really has. Romney didn't have it. George W. Bush didn't have it. McCain never had it. So the path to victory, we say the Sun Belt, we refer to everything in the lower latitudes. So that would be Georgia, Arizona, Nevada, and North Carolina. Trump has locked up North Carolina. Basically, everyone except the New York Times is now saying he's locked up Georgia. Arizona is still kind of knife edge, but I don't know. New York Times says 75% on that one. Here's the thing. Here's the electoral math. If Trump wins the Sun Belt, he is one electoral vote short of winning. and he then has to get one more state, and the only states remaining would be Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. That's the math.
Yeah, it seems to me that if he wins Pennsylvania, he'll
It's
win.
done. It's a done deal.
Yeah.
Because also Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania always vote together. They have since 1988. So if you win Pennsylvania, you win the other two, or vice versa. However, interestingly, and I do just want to point this out because it is a possibility we get there, and God help us if that's the case. The Commerce Department under Donald Trump botched the 2020 census. They completely screwed it up. And Florida should have had 2 more electoral votes. Texas should have had 1 or 2 more. Rhode Island should have had 1 less. Basically, there were several.
New York should have had 1 less.
Say again.
And California should have had less.
Yeah.
New York should have had 1 less. Delaware should have had 1 less.
Well,
yeah.
And a big part, look, for folks that don't realize, 2020, Trump fought to not, in the census, not count non-citizens. So when you look at the Electoral College right now, the reason you have so many in New York and California is because non-citizens are included in that, which should not be the case because they're not voting, or they shouldn't be, right? It's illegal for them to vote, although they seem to do it anyway. So realistically, what you're seeing is the blue states where they have more non-citizens are getting a unfair Electoral College bump.
Yep. Now, where this matters is because that would shift the math some. If Donald Trump does not win Wisconsin, Michigan, or Pennsylvania, he will end up with 268 electoral votes. That is 1 less than needed. Well, technically 2 less, because 269 would be a contingent election in the House, but we're not going to go there. What that means is that if only one of those errors were corrected, if Florida got its 2 more EVs, then instead of 30, it would have been 32. Then Trump doesn't need the Rust Belt. Now, based on the data I'm looking at here and what the New York Times is saying, he's 60 to 70% likely to win Michigan, 60 to 70% likely to win Wisconsin, ditto Pennsylvania. So it's probably going to be academic, but man, you'd feel a lot better if you didn't have to rely on those. And it would have changed the entire campaign. Trump probably would have ignored them and just spent time in Arizona, Georgia, Nevada, and left those to whatever.
Well, and then Elon helping out in Pennsylvania has got to do a lot too. So
they're so mad.
The Amish have been coming out.
No, the Amish. Oh, goodness gracious.
Come on, they got Trump flags on their buggies.
People have been saying, "Oh, look, the Amish are turning out for the first time since literally Romney." Okay, like it's a thing every year. It's cool. I think it's neat. They're riding their horse and buggies to the polls. Like I think that's neat, but they're not turning out any more or less than they ever have. It's the same story. It's cool, but it's not a big wave or anything.
So right now,
I made a funny short video about it, and I played Amish Paradise by.
Right now, we're at 204 for Harris, 246 for Trump, according to the decision desk.
So in Pennsylvania, Allegheny County, which is Pittsburgh, is tapped out. Harris cannot gain any more from that. Philadelphia County, and I mean, only the Lord himself knows how many legitimate ballots are coming out of there because it's Philadelphia, has 78% of its vote in, and Trump is currently leading in Pennsylvania by 200,000 votes. I don't think there's enough vote out there for Harris to win Pennsylvania, and if that's the case, that's the game right there.
Yeah, it's looking really good for sure.
So we're thinking Donald's going to win. Donald, like we're first name basis. Sorry.
Buddies.
The executive.
Wait, you're not.
Well, he's got it.
I do have a friend who actually.
That's a 2CV.
I do know someone that actually does know him personally.
It was the Presbyterian. Did a 2CV?
Yep, that's what I said.
A 2CV. Yeah, and that's kind of what Greg said when he was on too, when he was talking about Michigan, where a lot of votes for Donald Trump was gonna come in late, right?
This is funny. Bubblegum said the Amish joined forces with Elon Musk. Talk about strange bedfellows.
He ain't wrong.
Okay, so here's some other things to think about with this is that Trump has doubled the number of, at least what they're saying, the number of black votes that he got from last time. So he has gotten where, the Democrats used to vote, or blacks used to vote for Democrats like 95+%. and he's now cut that down to the 80%. He doubled the amount of Hispanic vote that he got before. And so those two groups are what Democrats just take for granted. I think it's very interesting that I think that it will be very interesting if Kamala Harris loses Pennsylvania, because Kamala Harris had a chance to have someone that actually would have been good for her ticket. And that's our governor here, who's a Democrat, but a well-spoken Democrat, but he's Jewish. Mm-hmm. And she was so desperate to win, she wanted to get the Muslim vote there in Michigan or in Minnesota, that she gave up having a Jewish vice president that could have helped her. So if she loses Pennsylvania, a lot of it's going to be because of who she picked for her running mate.
I agree. Shapiro's probably the most well-spoken and probably the most impressive Democrat governor in the Republic.
Yeah, the tremendous irony of this election is that Donald Trump, the guy who the media and Big Eva, etc., has said is literally the most divisive person since insert whatever other world leader with a funny mustache or whatever. He's actually technically been more of the unity ticket. This has been a permission structure election with getting Elon Musk, Joe Rogan, even Mark Zuckerberg complimenting him. That wouldn't have happened 4 years ago. Whereas it's basically been almost like a 90s Democrat ticket running against communists or morons.
Here's an interesting thing for you. Do you know that Democrats have referred to Republican presidents as Hitler? So every president since Goldwater was referred to as Hitler, except for George H. Bush. Every Republican. So, yeah, it's nothing new there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But if they end up, if they end up losing Pennsylvania, which I hope they do, a lot of it will be because her pick there, and it's really interesting. Minnesota, they're not giving the numbers there, but was quite interesting that Trump was starting to pick up a lot of the Muslim vote, and so if I think it would be wonderful if Trump wins Pennsylvania and Minnesota, where they were desperate to get that Muslim vote. If they lose the Muslim vote and the Jewish vote and the Pennsylvania vote, it's their policy of divide and conquer. I think this election, if Trump wins, will be shown to be the failure, because they couldn't get. They divided. Now they're like desperate to get real men voting for them, but they put out commercials of what they consider real men.
What do you guys think Joe Biden's doing tonight?
He's getting ready to pop the cork when Trump wins.
He's already asleep.
I think I kind of agree with you. I think that might be right.
Okay, so he hates Kamala Harris, almost as much as Obama hated Joe Biden. So there's a hatred there, but they kind of got stuck. Each of them got stuck with one another. If you look, Joe Biden has been doing everything he can to undermine Kamala Harris. The only time he's been actually, coherent has been when he's like undermining Kamala Harris and doing things like calling all the Trump supporters garbage, and then they're trying to mop that up and stuff. But he wants, because so at a recent funeral for Kennedy, RFK's mother, you had Biden and Obama, and several different lip readers have confirmed that basically Joe Biden walked up to Obama and said, she's losing. I would have won this. So, it seems that he's a little bit hurt.
It's hard for me to believe he put that many words together in a sentence.
I'm just on various left-wing subreddits right now, just like feasting upon all of the despair. It's beautiful. I'm sorry.
Hey,
So,
I need some information.
Another one. Trump's at 247.
Yep.
Okay, I need some information. I know that Florida defeated Amendment 4, but there were other states that were also fighting the same battle, and I've seen a few comments that made me think maybe not all have had the same success. So anybody know what?
Well, Matthew's probably going to respond to that. I do want to jump in with some before Matthew goes, because I want to give the background for why this was the case. Okay. You have George Soros that found that he could get money in on ballot initiatives and go over the limits that he would not be able to do otherwise. Abortion, he tried to get abortion on every state to get that to be a ballot initiative, because typically even in red states, when abortion's on the ballot, Democrats win. And so I think the reason Florida didn't go is because, well, what I think we're going to see is everywhere where there's integrity in the elections, we see a red wave.
Okay.
Yeah. First of all, citizen ballot initiatives are the stupidest thing ever, and no state should have them. Okay.
Yes.
Beyond that, the news is grim, to be honest with you. Every single state that has had an abortion rights referendum has passed it. States that have attempted to pass referendums that clarified that our Constitution does not provide a right to an abortion, those have failed. There were 8 of them on ballots tonight, and 6 of them are very likely to pass. The one that stings the most, I think, is Missouri, because the Abolitionist Rising guys and a number of others were up there really hitting it hard to try and drive that one down. But Associated Press has called that one with 53%. It'll win 53-47. Now, their simple majority, Florida, by some act of the loving God himself, is 60%. So that is what saved us, of course, on this one.
Yeah, the yes vote still got 57% in
yes,
Florida,
they did,
which is
That's
pretty
crazy.
concerning, right? So we got work to do.
And if you want to know exactly why that did not pass, let me tell you something about these other states. And this is where I will get on my hobby horse for a minute. The Republican governors of these other states really did just just shove their hands in their pockets and said, well, I guess it's on the ballot now. Let's just see what the citizens decide. And there was one governor that did not, and his name was Ron DeSantis. And he said, I am not going to do this. And we're not doing this. And you could be, because I follow him and a lot of his staff on Twitter, you could be forgiven for thinking that he just wasn't the governor for the last 8 weeks, and his sole mission was taking down these 2 amendments. I mean, event after event after event, doctors in white coats, why you should vote no on 4. I mean, he even was like going after places that were airing deceptive ads and was accused of misusing the powers of the governor's office. And I'm like, I already like the man. You don't have to sell me on him, right? So, so like all this criticism and stuff like pushed the bounds of the governor's office to the limit to kill these amendments. And he succeeded. Kristi Noem in South Dakota, where the abolitionists and the pro-lifers are fighting for their life to keep this thing out of their Constitution. Kristi Noem did jack diddly and squat about this amendment. Trump's going to win that state by 30 points, and she spent all her time campaigning for Trump, and they were begging her for help to try and get some sort of events to say, don't vote, for Amendment G, which is what it is up there. And she did absolutely nothing. So it is a Missouri here at 53%. If that governor had dug his heels in and actually had some balls to fight back against this thing, you would have seen this come a lot closer and perhaps not even pass. And he didn't. And the children of Missouri are going to suffer as a result. And it pisses me off when you have guys that are given executive power and don't use it.
Well, so
I understand you're a Baptist and you've had champagne, but let's keep the scatological.
Hey, that's in the King James.
People are going to
Bible.
think I invited Jeff Durbin on here or Doug Wilson.
Excuse me, I should have talked about pisseth against the wall. That would have been better.
It does bring to mind, though, just again, kind of a pastoral question. If is there, I mean, because the Christian vote is historically low every 4 years. Christians don't do a very good job of getting out and voting. And if Christians even, and again, there's a theological debate as to, we could have on actual Christians versus just Christian in name only. But even if the people that call themselves Christians would get out and vote in any kind of real numbers, none of these races would even be close. I mean, we would trounce the Democrats in every major state, in every major vote. So it does bring up the question, if I agree with Matthew, if it's good for governors to wield some of their executive authority, is there a place for pastors to speak out at least to the moral subjects and say, look, here are, I mean, again, not saying down ticket bizarre stuff, but when it comes to moral, certainly abortion, abolition, or other large moral topics. I mean, what say you?
Should pastors be speaking on more political subjects? Is that sort of a summary of what you're getting at?
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, what do you say, Pastor?
What I would say is, because I just taught a class called Biblical Worldview at my church at 9 a.m. during our Christian Ed hour, and I had to think through a bunch of things that I didn't really want to think through in the past because an election's coming up, and I don't get to shove my hands in my pockets and say, I don't know, y'all just vote how you want to, right? Like that's not acceptable as an elder in one of Christ's churches. You can't do that. So I had to dig into this stuff and what is the role of the state? What does Scripture say about this? How should Christians vote on Amendment 3? How should they vote on Amendment 4? Those were both tough, not for the same reason. 3 is a tough case biblically, to be honest with you. There's just not a lot of data in there about it. 4 was tough just because it's hard to even go there emotionally, I guess. But I said to them, and I said from the pulpit when I was preaching a sermon on Psalm 16, and I said, there's something about not going after making blood offerings to the other gods in the land. I said, this was 9 weeks ago. I said, I want you all to know that the opportunity for us to offer blood to the gods of our land is coming up to us on our ballot in a few weeks. And I want you to know that we have the opportunity as Christians, as citizens, to stand against this, and we should. So I don't have any issue with saying that we should stand for moral issues when people try and call them political. And I'll give you another example. Marriage did not used to be a political issue. It just wasn't. Marriage was marriage, and that was it. There wasn't really anything to it. Only since various states started doing it, and then it got turbo accelerated with Obergefell back in 2015, then the state starts coming into my sphere and telling me what I will and will not recognize as a marriage. And at that point, when I speak on it, if someone goes, hey, whoa, man, you're getting political, I'll say, excuse me, I wasn't the one that moved the boundary over here. They're the ones that brought the fight into my sphere.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I have to deal with this biblically. And no, Caesar, you do not get to come into this space, and you do not get to say these kinds of things. I'm perfect. I'm not a classical liberal, like let's just all live and let live. I do think sphere sovereignty, like how Dr. Boot defines it, is a great way to think about it. And so when those spheres overlap, I'm happy to talk about it. But when they don't, then I'm happy to say this is the role of the church in this case, and this is the role of the state. I shouldn't be throwing criminals in prison, and you shouldn't be telling me what I can and can't preach. I'm comfortable with that.
Which is why. Well, never mind. Go ahead.
Well, I agree with everything you just said. I think the one small qualifier I would put on that is the pastor needs to preach on what would benefit his congregation the most, right? According to the word of God and all that kind of stuff, where, my church is in the buckle of the Bible Belt in the upstate of South Carolina, and it's extremely conservative, and there might be 1 or 2 people who aren't on board with conservative moral issues, right? With recognizing marriage as one man, one woman, the life issue, etc. And so it's
over the world.
I think it's what's happening.
Is it God of just the church?
I'm so confused.
Who's coming in? Somebody's got sound playing something.
No, that was my wife coming in with some hot takes off camera.
Oh, okay. Well,
apologies.
Hi, Mrs. Wing.
She
heard you.
I was like, hot mic.
I just wanted to,
When you're not
shout out Jacob Glass for representing Ohio. You know, I'm from Ohio, and all, you know, the last election that we had, all of this was happening in Ohio, and he's right. Like there seemed to be, outside of a few churches, like, you know, my church, Redemption Church, you know, we were doing the whole, you know, bring awareness and everything, but there just didn't seem to be, from the top down, you know, Republican or conservative leadership down, there didn't seem to be any help in terms of ads or anything like that to you know, vote no on, you know, codifying abortion into the Constitution. So
just two updates we got
Hold
here.
on. Give us updates, but I want to go back to Cody because he was talking and we sort of cut him out. So
oh, sorry, Cody. Yeah, we kind of did, didn't we?
Yeah, I want to go back. And by the way, we're at 300 viewers at 2 hours. So there are 300 people watching this right now. I have a hard time saying let's cut it off, but I am getting a little tired. We're going to have to cut it off eventually. But I want to hear what Cody had to say, and then Andrew can give us the update.
Yeah, well, I think it just depends on the discipleship needs at that moment for that church, right? And so I think everybody would agree we're not going to universalize like what Eric Metaxas tried to do on X a couple of weeks ago, of saying, if your pastor doesn't preach this Sunday on XYZ, then you need to leave, right? And so, like, man, my church is, like, we're actually fairly politically active already. It would be wise, perhaps, on our pastor and elders' parts to maybe say, hey, also, let's not be high strung. Let's make sure everything's seasoned with grace. Let's make sure we're not trusting in horses and chariots. Let's make sure we're trusting in God, who is sovereign over all of this. So that would be the one qualifier I would put on that, while agreeing with everything that you said.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with that. Metaxas did that. Another guy, Todd Starnes, did that. And it was actually James White that put him in his place on Twitter. It was after the assassination attempt. And it was like, if you don't preach on this or mention it, then you need to find a new church. And James White was like, how dare you tell the elders of Christ churches what they will and will not preach to their own flocks? Get back in your lane, sir.
Todd Starnes, Todd Starnes regularly beclowns himself in that way anyway. So bless his heart, as we say in the South.
I mean, one of the things that we did on, like, say, Wednesday nights, when it's more your really devout crowd anyway, the ones that aren't, the hardcore Wednesday night crowd. I mean, we were going through some of the Psalms, especially some of the more messianic Psalms. We did a whole prayer day leading up to the election, which again then opens it up to, if this is something that does concern you, if you're someone that really is more politically charged, then, hey, we're doing a day of prayer, come out and pray, and again, that lets you feel like you're both being involved, but you're also, to Cody, to your point, you're not trusting in horses, you're not trusting in chariots. You are saying, Lord, we're putting this whole thing in your hands. Obviously the word says that we can come to the throne with boldness and certainly make our requests known unto God. So we would request, Lord, that though we probably deserve Kamala, I mean, and I'm the first to admit it, we probably deserve a Kamala, Harris presidency, and much worse. We probably deserve whatever the equivalency of Assyria or Babylon is today. We deserve that. But Lord, we're asking for mercy. We're asking that you would move, by your Spirit, bring reformation, heal our land. And I've thought much about, I think it's Daniel chapter 9 in recent weeks, where it says that Daniel was repenting of his own sins and the sins of his people. And I think it's incumbent upon us, especially as pastors, but even just as Christians, to certainly humble ourselves before the Lord, repent of our own negligence, of our own lethargy, but also repent for the sins of our people. You can find that in Job as well. Job is repenting for the sins of his own children. I think there's a biblical case there that we sometimes overlook because we don't understand. And again, I'll speak as a PCA guy. We're so afraid of federal vision as a doctrine. And again, there's huge problems with it that I disagree with, but we're so afraid of that federal idea, where we have any kind of actual federal authority that we just kind of throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Dude waited until 2 hours in to bring up Federal Vision just so that this comments would explode now about Doug Wilson. Way to go, Corey. All right, Andrew, it's your turn, buddy. You've been wanting to tell us the update, and I've been waiting to hear it.
Yeah, well, first, I'll just say this. Now that we're down to 6 people, we can now finally see at the bottom of the screen, it says support the show. Go to buymeacoffee.com/yourcalvinist. So I encourage everyone right now to go out there, buymeacoffee.com/yourcalvinist, and make sure that Keith gets enough coffee because he's getting a little tired. He needs to get juiced up there so that he can stay the rest of the night. So we now have 51 Republicans in the Senate. So the Senate has turned and we have officially flipped the Senate to the Republicans. At least according to the decision desk.
Which is it, Montana or Pennsylvania? Which one was called most recently? Do you know?
I didn't see which one I missed which one it was the last one, but I can share this and you could look if
that'd be great. Yeah, because Nebraska is having an unusually close race with Deb Fisher out there. There's an independent named Jim Osborne that ran against her that's like within a point of her, and that one's going to run all the way down to the wire, I think.
So I shared it. Keith would have to. There we go. So that's the Senate race right now.
Okay, so they've called Montana. Okay, only 14% of Montana's in,
Montana
but okay,
is not called.
Oh, okay. So where's the flip? I'm sorry.
Well, there were 2 seats that flipped earlier. The most recent one that
Nebraska. They've gone ahead and called Nebraska. Okay, all right. Okay. Even though that one's tight. That one's very, very tight.
The Associated Press has also called both Nebraska seats for the Republicans.
Okay, that's good to know.
That just came in.
Thank you much.
And so polls did close top of the hour. We haven't seen much change. New Jersey is now officially, according to Decision Desk, is for Harris, which I kind of find interesting because it's still the numbers didn't change that much. To Matthew's point here in Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, which is one of the big areas, is 94% is in. So there's not much room to do much there. Harrisburg is a big Democrat area with 67% counting, but the real one to watch is going to be here in Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. They got 80% reporting now. So it really does become a thing where there might not be enough room for them to steal. It'd be kind of hard.
Swamp the vote.
Yeah, I don't see him losing Pennsylvania at this point. I don't know. It's still maybe too early, but my hopes are much higher than they were before.
So in terms of how the candidates are feeling about this is from the Associated Press so Kamala Harris has a watch party at Howard University, and they've turned off CNN. And just started turning on music. So they don't feel very good about this at all.
Ouch, that's bad. So what's going on at Mar-a-Lago?
Business.
What's going on at Mar-a-Lago is Trump is probably eating a well-done steak with ketchup with a side of McDonald's.
I was going to say McDonald's egg.
I love it.
I would love some McDonald's fries right now.
I would too.
I ate McDonald's for 6 months. So.
Oh well.
I do see some things happening on Twitter where people are complaining that ballot boxes are still showing up in Detroit, with from cars that have California license plate on them.
I'm sure nothing untoward is going
on.
Yeah.
No. It's probably
what's unusual about that?
It's going to be. They're going to see an AMC Pacer backup filled with boxes. I don't know why that makes me happy, but it would just the ballots coming in through an AMC Pacer. I want to say what Matthew said. He's leaving us tonight, and he said, "Good night, brothers. Whatever the results, God is sovereign." And I agree. Yep. My sermon Sunday, the title of my sermon was "God will still be on His throne Wednesday." Well, it is Wednesday. And God is still on his throne. It is 12:10 in the a.m. John F says, "Make America less PC USA again." I like that.
Amen.
Corey, our PCA guy.
I did see someone had a map of the U.S. I like this. I saw it on Facebook, and it was orange, and they had the legend said where Jesus reigns, and the whole U.S. was orange.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's right. So just over my shoulder here, there's the blue. Well, I gotta orient my thumb right. So there's the blue neon. That's my logo, civically minded. But then next to that, in the other thing there is the original. It's a reprint, of course, but it's a copy of the original letter that we wrote to the PCUSA, telling them that we were leaving to form the PCA. So that came from our 50th anniversary, which was just a year ago at the General Assembly.
Nice.
We had when we were out doing a poll greeting on Saturday at one of the Duval County precincts here in Florida. I was working with another guy, and this lady had a cross hanging from her rearview mirror, but she pulled up to roll her window down, and we had some Abolitionist Rising stuff out there, and she was very upset. Let's just leave it at that. But she was like, "Y'all are being so judgmental, and why do you say that Christians can't support abortion? I know plenty of Christians that do." And my friend said, "No, you don't." Then,
That's right.
So she drove off, and I don't know. I just looked over at him. I said, "PCUSA, ELCA, or UMC? What do you think?" And we rock paper scissors for it, and eventually we decided ELCA.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we are at 315 people, but unfortunately, we do have to wrap up at a certain point. And I, like many of you, do have to get to bed eventually. And working on.
Well, I am getting up in 3 hours.
Well, thank you for staying this late, gentlemen. I want to give each one of you an opportunity to close us out with any final words you have to say. Unfortunately, we do have to bring it to a close. So I'll let you start, Andrew, and we'll go around the room. We'll go Andrew to Parker to Corey to Cody, and then Matthew, and then Richard and I will say a final word.
I'm glad you were going to include Richard there.
Well, I mean, we just feel bad
for a while.
Hey, it's fine. I've actually learned a lot by just sitting here with you guys. So I've been happy just soaking it all in, and so I've just enjoyed being here. So it's cool. I'm just ornamentation. I'm the bodyguard, as I was told earlier. So
we used to call you the eye candy. So I guess
you throw a mean baseball in his theme song. So
there you go.
Hey, we are working on the denominations play softball.
Yes,
that's going to be great. Yeah.
Hey, well, I know Greg's not here, but he would be happy to know his state, Michigan, is now leaning Trump. So we'll hope that. So that went from leaning Harris to leaning Trump. So that's some good news.
I'm starting to think Corey's right on his prediction of 300 or more.
Yeah, I'd like to.
So Parker, are you willing to give Corey a cigar if he's right?
Sure, I'll buy him a cigar.
1689cigars.com. All right, so Keith, I do appreciate you having all of us on. This was a lot of fun. I would argue, as I said online, that this was probably the funniest election news anywhere on the internet. I think we achieved that. Informative, educational, and a lot of fun. So I'm glad to be here. I was glad to be invited. If anyone wants to check out anything, the stuff I'm doing, just go to strivingfortraining.org or the christianpodcastcommunity.org. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for coming on. Parker?
Yeah, I want to thank you for having me as well. I met a lot of you at Fight Laugh Feast, and it's been a blessing to know you guys. And I think it was Matthew who said that, God is sovereign. And I just wanted to leave us with that as well. Just kind of remind us that, whether it's Trump or Kamala, it was in God's plan, and he elects those into power. And Christians you shouldn't fret or worry or whatever, because ultimately God's in control. And if you guys out there listening are interested in movies and theology, you should check us out on YouTube, the Watch Well podcast, and you can follow me on X at Real Parker Brown.
Thanks again. I don't want to be the one jerk that doesn't say thank you, and then you guys will all say the Presbyterian's a jerk.
That'll work into a Keith Foskey video. I'm sure.
Superior theology does not require a thank you.
That's right.
We can go from superior theology to garage theology with Steve Cruz over at the Regular Man podcast.
So thank you for having me on. Again, if you like this type of thing, I do a lot of politics on my channel, but a lot of just practical theology from a pastoral slant. So you can find me at civicallyminded.com. YouTube channel is also Civically Minded, X, Instagram, all branded Civically Minded. So if you're interested in these topics, that's where you can find me. And again, wonderful reminder from everybody tonight that the Lord is in control, no matter how we wake up tomorrow morning. And boy, did you guys give me a wonderful, wonderful few days there in Fort Worth. Thank you for your friendship and for the encouragement and just the brotherhood of guys that understand what this weird world that we all live in is like.
He's even sovereign over the cheating.
Yep. Cody?
Again, Keith, thank you. And thank you for ruining my Facebook post that I made earlier saying, hey, most election coverage is a waste of time. Don't watch it. And here I am contributing to it.
Awesome.
So
where you should be, brother.
Yeah. Go buy stuff for your guitar at westminstereffects.com. Subscribe to the Westminster Effects Doxology podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, etc. And Jesus is indeed on the throne.
Amen.
Amen.
Matthew?
I got to be honest. I invested so much, just pent up hand wringing and prayer into Amendment 4 that now that it's dead, I'm just like the rest of the night's like, cool, we get the presidency too. That's nice, So no, I mean, obviously not everyone lives in Florida. Obviously that I'm not so myopic as to think that only the stuff going on in my state matters, but I already feel like we've won the big one tonight. At least where I'm at and for what my value system counts. But I do pray that God would show mercy on the country in who wins in all these other different offices. That is the White House, but it is also the Congress. It is also even down to our state legislative races. I've got this big list on the second monitor that I'm looking at. So I'm exhausted. My day started at 6:30 and I was on my feet for 13 hours with a bullhorn. So I think I'm going to go to sleep too. And we'll wake up and see who the president is.
Amen. Richard, any final thoughts?
Well, I appreciate you giving me the invite, and I've enjoyed coming out here. I didn't add much, but hey, I'm at the low end of the totem pole with this group, so that's cool. But yeah, I appreciate the invite, and I echo what everybody else said. God's sovereign, God's still on the throne, and I'm with Matthew. I'm very glad 4 was knocked down today because killing babies ain't good. So anyhow, appreciate the invite, and maybe I'll see some of these guys in Tullahoma if I can make it out there with you later on this next year. So anyway, you got it.
Awesome. Well, again, thank all of you guys for being on. And I want to thank you viewers who've been out there, man, 300, still almost 300 people watching right now. And that's just such an awesome thing to have you guys join us at midnight to be able to do this show. I do want to throw out one small plug for something that I'm doing. I am very close to 30,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I have said I want to hit that number by Thanksgiving. So if you are not subscribed to Your Calvinist Podcast, you can do me a huge favor by going ahead and hit that subscribe button. And it's going to just help me make a great Thanksgiving to say, hey, thankful for what little time we've been doing this show to be able to hit that number. So go hit the subscribe button if you haven't. Also, if you like this episode, hit the thumbs up button. And if you didn't, hit the thumbs down button twice. Thank you for watching Church Soup, and we will see you on the next show. God bless.